Hi everybody, my name is Phil Skelton, founder and chief campaigner of the Stayin Alive at 1.5 campaign. Caroline has invited me on with you this evening to have a chat to you about safe passing of bicycle riders in the Stayin Alive at 1.5 campaign. This is a pre-recording, as I haven't been able to free myself up to do a live recording with you today, so if you see a few different backgrounds, if I've recorded on the fly, so to speak. So I just want to bring you on a little whistle-stop tour of the Stayin Alive 1.5 campaign. I've only got 10 or 15 minutes, so I won't be able to go into in-depth detail of something that actually took 6.5 years to bring through until it got passed into legislation in December 2019. So it was a long journey. So basically I'm going to focus on a lot of the awareness elements of the campaign, and they ultimately led to nice campaigns and advertisements like this one here.
Listen to this sound. That was the sound of a paintless dent removal tool being used to remove an unsightly dent in a silver four-door saloon. Listen to this sound. That was the sound of a surgeon attaching a pelvic plating system to a cyclist whose pelvis was crushed in a collision with a silver four-door saloon. Cyclists always come off worse. That's why it's now 3 penalty points plus a €120 fine for dangerously overtaking a cyclist. Always give them space to ride safe. From the Road Safety Authority.
So you might be wondering at this stage, why me? Why did I particularly take this campaign up? Well, we had 2 cycling fatalities, both as a result of same direction collisions on Wexford roads within 8 months of each other. And I got hit on the elbow by a close overtaking car in between those 2 instances, rather than give up an activity I really enjoy doing. I had a look and see what other places had done about this, and other places had introduced a thing called minimum passing distance legislation. Before that, in Ireland, we had very, very little to do in that regard. And this is all we had really, and this is from the Road Safety Authority. So this would have been from page 53 of the Rules of the Road at the time. And that was the only graphic that we had, along with the only wording. Very ambiguous, no distance, cyclists way too far into the left-hand side of the road, and car just not straddling that midsection enough. When we continue on to see what exactly this problem was, we don't have details from Ireland, but this is from the UK. So close passes made up nearly a third of all incidents, a particularly common incident on rural locations, where passes made up nearly half of the incidents. So next thing then, we're going to show you some examples of dangerous overtaking manoeuvres. These are some really dangerous overtaking manoeuvres, as you can see here. This one especially is crazy. But just to see what kind of awareness is around, Mayo County Council actually produced a video. This is one part of it where they interviewed people.
But I should know this, I do a bit of cycling. With overtaking. 3 foot?
5 to 10 metres.
I haven't a clue.
Oh
God. I don't know. Don't know that one, yeah. That's yeah.
So my feeling on dangerous overtaking of bicycle riders before all this campaign started was that it was down to lack of awareness rather than malicious intent. But I was also keenly aware that this message needed to be underscored with legislation in order for the message to crystallise. So with that in mind, the campaign aims then were to change the rules of the road, to get legislation, and to create a massive awareness campaign around this. But today we just want to deal with the awareness aspect of it, given the time constraints that we have. So we started out our awareness journey with setting up a Facebook page, with creating a lot of awareness around the safe passing message. And at one stage we hit over 1.25 million people. which was very encouraging. We needed also something to raise our campaign over the din of other campaigns in order to be heard and be seen out there. So we also created a safe cycling jersey, which we saw as important to have these on the road to be seen by drivers where they actually mattered. And these in turn allowed us to create these stickers, and we sent out over 100,000 of these over the years. Following on from the success of that, I reached out to Wexford County Council, and this fine group of individuals came together for a Wexford County Council funded 4 awareness videos. This is one.
The road belongs to all users. Nobody has more right to the road than anyone else. There are many potential obstacles apparent to a cyclist that may not be seen by a motorist. Debris, shores, potholes. When overtaking a cyclist, anticipate these hazards. Please allow a distance of 1.5 metres between your vehicle and the cyclist. The risk of serious injury is far too great. Respect the road. It belongs to us all.
Following on from the rollout of these videos, it was encouraging to see the amount of motorists who had greater understanding of cyclist behaviour, along with cyclists noticing a behavioural change in some motorists in the last 6 months, although be 30%, but it was encouraging nonetheless. So encouraged by the previous project and its results, we rolled out the See the Person Passed with Care project, which you can see in the County Hall here in Wexford. So this was an effort to personalise a cyclist, to show people these are actually people on bicycles who just want to get home to their loved ones. Further negotiations then with Wexford County Council brought us this messaging on the back of their council vehicles, sharing a message where it really matters out on the roads with other road users. And then following that, we had 40 of these permanent road signs put onto Wexford roads. And like many things, success brings its own success, and this would have been the first time I would have met Caroline here at a Road Safety Authority gig at Rochestown. I was down doing an awareness session there, and Caroline rolled out motor tax discs there for users. Mayo County Council would have rolled out council vehicles, as would Kerry, and there are plenty of others too. Sligo, I can think of Donegal and Fingal, but there were loads of other council successes along the way. And this was my last project with Wexford County Council, and it just shows the value of a cycling officer for a county council. On your left there is Frank Burke, who was the cycling officer at the time, and it was him who helped progress all these different programmes that we had with Wexford County Council. This was the 2017 National Championships with Nicholas Roach. I then felt it was time to take this message onto the road. So with my awareness tent, I travelled to the 4 corners of Ireland on many weekends, but not just preaching to the converted. I would have been at insurance shows, motor shows, lots of other things, bringing this message, trying to gather signatures, explaining to people the importance of this campaign. This would have been Sean Kelly and Stephen Roach signing the petition, but many others, over 10,000 did in the end. I felt it was a really important thing to be doing, and it was extremely valuable in engaging the public. So with further engagements with the Gardaí and especially with the Road Safety Authority, I developed a safe pass mat to display to people the actual life-size scenarios that safe passing would be. This is me at the Tullamore show. I was also with the Road Safety Authority's awareness section at the National Ploughing Championships. It was a tough gig, but it needed doing. The next idea I had then was what I called a spoken sign. These were a sign that I would have gotten different people to read out and to share out on social media. The first one here is one example there from Sonia O'Sullivan. There were many others, but Sonia's fantastic.
Hi, my name is Sonia O'Sullivan and I support Stayin Alive at 1.5. When overtaking cyclists, it is really important to stay wider of the rider. Please allow 1.5 metres when overtaking a person on a bicycle. This distance makes the difference, reducing the risk of serious injury or worse. Your patience and tolerance can help save lives. Thank you.
Meanwhile, understanding the absolute need for this message to be underscored with legislation in order for the message to be allowed to crystallise, the political campaign continued unabated. The story is much too long to go through here, as this is mainly about awareness, but with support from the likes of Matt Cooper, The Times UK with Richie Oakley, and many others, we ended up with a lot of national media like this one from RTE series.
Alongside speed reduction, cycle campaigners are also calling for greater distances by vehicles when overtaking bikes.
General overtaking of a bicycle rider, it's very scary if a vehicle comes really close to you at speed when you're on a bicycle. There are many obstacles on the road that maybe might cause a bicycle rider to just move away from a predicted line. So this defined space is crucial to make this interaction a safe one. This is a high-speed road, so this is an 80km/h speed road. So the proposed minimum passing distance on speed zones of 50 km/h or less is a metre.
What does it feel like as a cyclist when a car is overtaking you at speed?
Do you know, the nearest I can kind of describe to it, probably to people who don't cycle, is if you're driving along in your car and if a truck, for example, comes past you at speed, it's scary.
It is
scary.
Yeah.
You know, so multiply that by 1,000 and you got what I feel like, or other bicycle riders feel like, when a car or other vehicle overtakes that closely.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
Big difference, yes.
So what do drivers need to bear in mind?
Bear in mind that a bicycle rider may not be going on a predicted straight line all the time. There may be sometimes that line may be diverted slightly. Shores, potholes, all sorts of things on the road that can make you divert from a driver may see to a predicted position. The vast majority of drivers out there are already heeding the advice given by the Road Safety Authority to stay wider of the rider. And yes, there may be a delay sometimes, but it's very important that we don't trade off road safety for time savings. That's crucial.
I mean, you're going to save lives at the end of the day.
Absolutely. This is what this is all about.
So to cut a long story short, with cross-party support, it led to this moment we were waiting for, with the then Transport Minister Shane Ross's announcement.
At the moment, my officials are to create a special offence for dangerously overtaking cyclists, certainly, because I think they do need protection.
However, following a review from the Attorney General's office, Ireland stopped short of minimum passing distance legislation, and instead we have a cyclist-specific dangerous overtaking legislation, which you would have heard from the ad in the first part of this presentation. We also have a review from the Road Safety Authority with some recommendations on further awareness and some Garda involvement in that, and I'll go into that shortly. One thing I definitely insisted on, in keeping with many other jurisdictions with safe passing legislation, was the rollout of these safe passing signage, having seen their success in Wexford. Most county councils are now funded for these, so if you don't see these on your road, contact your councillors. Part of the review has involved a change in the whole graphic of the rules of the road, so this is now part of the rules of the road rather than the ambiguous message that was there before. Further rollout of messaging from the Road Safety Authority. This is at a local Apple Green petrol station, and this excellent video.
Anything can happen when you're riding a bike. Branches, drains, and even car doors opening.
We need drivers to slow and give at least this much space in speed zones up to 50.
And at least this much in zones over 50.
It's just a little bit of space.
For a lot more safe.
Drivers, give the space to ride safe.
So that video you just watched was one of two that I sent in the Road Safety Authority, and that's the one they accepted and went with. It is a copy of one from Victoria, Australia. The next one I want to show you, though, I really like also, and if any councils out there have some money you'd like to spend on refreshing the campaign, I'd love to see this. So into the future then, further recommendation from the Road Safety Authority review was the policing of unsafe interactions between motorists and cyclists. In the first year, there were 28 motorists prosecuted for dangerously overtaking bicycle riders. We don't have much of a wheel to reinvent it with this. There's already systems in operation in the UK. What we'd like to see is an online portal where people could upload footage. It's not just cyclists, for all road users. And we'd also like to see some police engagement with this process, which you'll see in the next video from police unit doing Operation Close Pass in the UK.
Phil Robertson is another keen cyclist. This morning, he's out on one of Southampton's busy commuter roads. But all is not quite as it seems. Phil's part of an operation to catch drivers who are getting a little too close for comfort. First to be pulled in by the Joint Police and Council Initiative, a council van.
This morning what's happened is my colleague out and about on a motorcycle, the one that pulled you in, he's observed you overtake 3 cyclists this morning, including our unmarked police cyclist.
None of the drivers pulled in today will get a ticket, but they will get a talking to.
What we've got here, sir, is in relation to an overtaking distance of around about 1.5 metres.
Mats like these are now being used by police across the region to drive home the message on close passing.
So what we need to do is allow cyclists room to manoeuvre around obstacles, to react to what's going on in front of them, and also so that as motorists you're not intimidating a cyclist who is, let's not forget, a lot more vulnerable than you are in your car or your van. Yeah?
Well, that concludes my presentation there, folks. I hope you enjoy the rest of your bike week. There's a lot more I could have presented to you this evening regarding the political element of it, etc. But given the time constraints, I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and hopefully you can spread this message far and wide. It really makes such a difference for bicycle riders. This obviously isn't a substitute for safe, dedicated, segregated, connecting cycling infrastructure. It's basically something that I would consider more of a beachhead strategy. You know, we're not going to get, you know, dedicated cycling infrastructure on every boreen and road in the country. So this is a continuing message that will need to be refocused on as time goes on. The next steps are very important in that we do need to see enforcement of this. There are an aware but don't care cohort out there. It's an uncomfortable truth maybe for the Gardaí or the Road Safety Authority, and I've dealt with that element and what I see should happen with that as well. Thanks a million, folks, and enjoy the rest of your bike week. All the best.